How are you? Let's see. Let's get ourselves set up. All right. Here we go. Okay. All right. How are you guys? I don't really know what we're doing today. I just felt needed. Do you ever have those moments where, especially if you're an intuitive, you just feel like someone needs me right now? And so I'm here. I'm not really sure. Did you know Stevie, my coffee is? Hi, Brittany. Good morning. Your aqua reading ripped me apart, but I needed it. Oh, I'm sorry, and you're welcome. I just the vessel. Yeah, I don't really know entirely what we're going to talk about today. I feel like, for one, I have so many like bits and pieces of different downloads and stuff that are coming in that I want to share, but I also feel like I'm having lately like a very neurodivergent type of experience, very ADHD, where it's like I have all of these ideas and I have all of these things that I want to say and that I want to share with everyone, but like I'm having a hard time bringing it from the inside of my brain to the outside of my mouth. But I was sitting here and I felt this pull to go live or to start the monthly readings for November. And so naturally, when I am, feeling confused, I go on TikTok. And 4 videos back to back on TikTok were all people talking about how lonely they felt and how, like, they're just looking around at the world and at life and just sort of feeling like it's very unfair. Like, why am I so lonely? Why are things working out for other people, but they're not working out for me? Like, and it just, and for me, it feels like that's spirit saying, like, this is what's going on with your people. Like, your people are lonely and they're kind of confused. And so I don't know exactly what we're going to talk about today or what we're going to read on, but I just wanted to make myself available for whatever needs to come through for you guys. And also, it makes me feel bad because it makes me feel like I maybe haven't been like the best steward over this channel, over, with you guys. I think back to, a couple years ago, and I was always like right at the front of the line. It's like, there is a message, if there's a download, I was here. I was on live stream, or it was a 2-minute video, or like whatever it was. Like, I was very here and I was very available. But then I went through things in my own personal life which were really difficult for me. It's like some stuff that like I'm still processing. And it really had me kind of like close in on myself and have me second guess my gifts and make me feel like people don't want to hear from me. Or even honestly just feel like super just resentful just across the board about a variety of things. And so I just didn't make myself more available. So now I'm sitting here and I'm feeling like this pull, right? Like somebody needs something, like somebody needs like whatever it is. And I'm realizing like how many times have there been in the, the last year and a half where like maybe I was needed and I didn't show up. And so even though I feel a little bit out of sorts because I don't have like a very specific, there's a bird on my windowsill, because I don't know, maybe the message will come in, because I don't have like a very specific like message or like agenda for today. I just in a small way want to kind of just like make up for that and just be here for you guys. And there's already 18 of you in here, so obviously is the right timing. It's the right timing. So let's see who's in here. Hello, Brittany. Space Monk, hello. Gertrude, she goes, it's me. I was literally thinking about you, and my phone went Boop, boop. Yeah, listen, shout out to everyone that has their notifications turned on, because sometimes YouTube is not a pal. So if you guys could turn on like your notifications and make sure you're subscribed and like all of that stuff, that would be super awesome for a gal like me. Hi, Chloe. Sitting by the seaside. That's so nice. Hi, Eve. I'm at the office, so can't chat, but wanted to say good morning. Good morning. I figured a lot of you would be kind of like at work and just sort of have me on in the background. But it's one of those moments, and you know, for you guys that are intuitive, you know, it's that feeling of when there's a pull, if you don't answer it, you kind of miss that window and it will gnaw at you all day. I knew that's what it felt like. It was like, if I don't answer the call, it's gonna gnaw at me all day, and nothing else I do for the rest of the day is going to feel satisfying, right? So I'm like, I'm just gonna come on here. A small cup of coffee. This is actually my second cup of coffee. I had a client session at 8 o'clock this morning, and so baby girl, we've been going for a long time now. I was just telling my mom this morning how awesome of a reader you are, and got sad that I won't be seeing another aqua reading for a long time. Oh no, Brittany, I've been better about posting more frequently, so you'll probably get like a week and a half. But I always say that all of my readings are collective. Anyone who has ever asked me, I always say, watch the readings by the titles, watch them by the timestamps. I watch them by the thumbnails sometimes, if the thumbnails stick out to me. Very rarely do I go by just the zodiac sign, because you have all of the signs in your chart, right? And we don't want to limit ourselves, you know? It's like the color blue. If, you know, you were only told that this is blue and someone were to show you this, you'd go, that's not blue, right? So it's the same thing with readings and messages. If you're only looking for it in, you know, one zodiac sign or in one manner, you might be, you know, leaving money on the table, so to speak. Hello, Skywalk Trees. Eva, hello. You're watching One Bird too? Yeah, a lot of sparrows today. You know, sparrows for me talk a lot about the little things, appreciating, finding joy and pleasure in the little things. And, you know, if you guys are experiencing things like melancholy, frustration, loneliness, it's good to kind of, you know, zoom out and then zoom back in, because it helps us get that perspective and, you know, look around and find the little ways that, you know, maybe things are working out for you, or little things that you can take comfort in, you know? And sometimes it doesn't always feel like it's enough, but it's the accumulation of the little things that over the course of a day can, you know, make you feel a little bit more sunny side up. YouTube is mean to you. Hi, Space Monk. Tina, hello. Getting ready for work. Violet Sky, hello. I'm the same with my coffee. May as well take it intravenously. You know what? I actually don't drink as much coffee now as I used to. A funny little story about me is my freshman year in college, my dorm did superlatives, you know, like cutest couple, best smile, like all of that. And I won an award. I won a superlative for a category that did not exist before me, so I'm a trailblazer. And I won most caffeinated 2010. Which also means that I'm aging myself for you guys. But I won most caffeinated 2010 because I drank so much coffee. We actually had a meal plan. When you dorm at college, normally you have a meal plan, and I actually ran out of money on my meal plan on my card like a month and a half before school ended, because I spent it all at the Starbucks on campus. And so my friends had to swipe for me for like the last half semester of school, so I only have like one cup normally now, if I even finish my main cup. But I started so early at 8 a.m. with that client session, and then I felt called to do this, and it's cold. Like, it got cold in Jersey the last 2 days all of a sudden, and so I figured, screw it, I'm gonna have another cup of coffee. No one can stop me. So I'm so reluctant on looking at my rising moon because I'm an aqua stellium. Aqua readings feel stronger than my gem moon. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. That makes sense. It also wouldn't be terrible for you to look at Capricorn's readings, Brittany, because you're both ruled by Saturn. Even stronger than my Libra rising. Libra, if I'm not mistaken, I'm not an astrologist, but I do play one on TV. Libra is exalted in Saturn, so you actually might benefit from the Libra readings too. Thanks. Hi, Elle. Hey. Can I get a room tour? Your walls look dope. This is pretty much it. You can pretty much see like 90% of the room, other than like my bed, which I don't like to show on camera because people are fucking weird, you know? So other than that, I keep wanting to like, sometimes I get that itch that like I want to rearrange things. And then I realize like there's only so many ways I can rearrange, you know, this room without showing strangers on the internet my bed, and I don't want to do that. So I've also got this room warded to fucking high heaven, so. But yeah, it's all my little artwork. This is a new board that I made, this colorful one. Do you guys remember last year when I made the Lauren's Lots board up here? I decided I wanted to make another one. I haven't done any new Lots videos in a very long time, but it's on my ADHD list of things to do. So I made a new board because in tarot, one of the really popular spreads that people like to do is an elemental spread. So basically you have 4 quadrants. You have fire, you have air, you have earth, you have water, and they represent like the 4 quadrants of your life, right? Like your passions, your career, your emotions, your relationships, your intellect, your communication styles, technology even, and then like kind of your duties, your responsibilities. And in my head, I thought that would make an amazing osteomancy board. Because when we work with lots or people throw like, they can throw runes or like different types of items, it's a form of osteomancy. And so I thought this is a really cool tarot spread that I enjoy. I should make it into a board and restart the Lauren's Lot series. I just haven't gotten there yet. I always have way too many irons on the fire as a person, and so I'm trying to be better about not starting things that like I can't finish. I'm very sad for the animals tonight, particularly the kangaroos who are being brutally wiped out. For peppermint and oh my god, Jesus fucking Christ, Wallaby. I'm sorry too. I feel that's Jesus Christ. Thanks for the tip. You know it. I do paint all of my own art. I didn't paint this right here with like the little boats. I did not paint that because I am not there yet. But yeah, I painted all of these. I like some of my favorite people, or like the people that I'm most inspired by, are artists and painters. I'm always sort of in awe of what they are able to do. And I always kind of resent myself a little bit for not being as good of a painter as they are, but I practice. I've found that there are a lot of lessons that I have learned spiritually that I probably could have learned just by taking a painting class. For instance, like watercolors. Watercolors require a lot of patience. You have to wait for sort of like each layer to dry before you layer on top of it, right? Which talks a lot about like the necessity of integration. Oftentimes in spiritual journeys, you want to grow and you want to expand your gifts, and oftentimes we don't give ourselves time to process the expansiveness of what you're pulling in, what you're experiencing, and you just add on to it, and it ends up getting very muddled and you feel very ungrounded and you can fall into psychosis. So like that is a lesson just about patience in life and patience in your spiritual or your emotional development that I learned through watercolors. You know, in watercolors, the more water that you use, the less control that you have, which is a good lesson about, you know, learning healthy ways to cope and manage your emotions, right? And so there's just like a lot of things that I have learned about life and love and spirituality through painting. And it's a good exercise for me because I am a bit of a perfectionist. I've always been a little bit of a type A personality, and it's good for me to work at something that I'm not naturally very good at, which I hate, but it's good for me, right? So yeah, I also wanted to fill the walls, and so I was like, I'm just gonna paint some stuff and put it up there. But I also like to paint things like as offerings. Like sometimes for my deities that I work with, I will paint them a picture and I will put it on the wall for them, and they like that. There's a lot of different ways you can honor your gods, your ancestors. Next week, I'm off on vacay. I have some canvases and paint. You should go live. It's like we're all painting together. You're not the first person that has mentioned having like a live stream paint party. You're not the first person who has mentioned that. For me though, when I'm painting, I go into such like a flow state. Usually I paint so I can check out of the rest of you see that? So I can check out of the rest of my brain. So sometimes having to like paint and talk is difficult for me. It's like when I finally get that like sweet spot in the ADHD like hyperfixation, like I just want to flow with it. But it's a fun idea. It is a fun idea. I know I have all these decks out. I feel discombobulated today. How have you guys been doing? How have you guys been sleeping? I had an interesting dream last night. And in my dream, I had found myself in sort of this strange place. And in there was a person who I do not speak to anymore and haven't spoken to for many, many years at this point. And in that dream, you know, they looked at me and they said, "Do you regret it?" And I said, "Well, you know, I wish things had turned out differently. I wish a lot of different things, but no, I don't regret that situation." And what I had noticed in that dream is I was like picking through like old clothes, but they were old uniforms from back when I used to work like my old bartending job before I took this on as my career. And I thought that was really sort of interesting. And in my dreams, like I have a gift of prophetic dreams, and in my dreams I often experience them as first person, but they are oftentimes collective. And the way that location in the dream felt, it felt like when you delete stuff off of your computer or when you delete stuff off of your phone, but it still sits in the trash bin for a certain amount of time, you know, and there's normally like that little memo in the trash bin that says like it will automatically delete after 30 days, right? You can go in there and manually dump out the trash bin, but it will like manually delete itself over the next 30 days, like whatever it is. I feel like that's where a lot of you guys are, is that like you're kind of in new places and you're in new mindsets, and it's like you're trying really hard. Like I do want to acknowledge that because I don't feel like it's acknowledged enough. Look at I'm shuffling the deck and 2 fell out, flipped over. Sacrifice, what can you let go of? Ubuntu, compassion for others. These cards are gorgeous. They're absolutely gorgeous. And yeah, so it kind of feels like you guys are like above ground and you're doing the absolute best that you can, but like there's still this heaviness, or like there's still sort of like this film, or like it's this feeling of like I can't get it off of me. Like there's still this energy that's lingering, and it's stuff that's like in the trash bin that you could go in and sort of just like manually delete, but it almost honestly feels better to let it just like sit in the trash bin and just allow it to be naturally deleted over maybe like the next month, over Scorpio season, which is a really good time for doing that. There is sort of this idea of like over pruning, I want to say, that seems to be coming through a lot for you guys, and it's come through a lot for me as a personal message as well, about like overly refining, or you know, doing too much shadow work, or trying to overly perfect something, or you know, it's like at the end of the day, like there's so much more in life that you do not have control over than we like to admit sometimes, you know? It's even like people who say, you know, you chose to come to Earth and you chose all of the experiences that you've had because your soul knew that you needed it for your growth. And I think that is the biggest load of horseshit I ever heard in my entire life. You picked your parents, and you probably didn't pick shit, because think about all of the things in life that have happened to you, that have gone on. How much of that did you pick for yourself? Probably not a lot of it. What's the one thing that we do know that we can control? It's our reactions to things, you know? And so, like I was saying before, when I was on TikTok and seeing like 4 creators, one after the other, talk about sort of this disparity between like what they have and like what they feel like they should have, and like versus what other people seem to be having and experiencing, combined with this like profound sense of loneliness with, you know, the eclipse energy coming in. It's like I feel like right now is a perfect pressure cooker moment that inspires first and foremost envy and sadness. I think like envy at its core is like a deep sense of sadness, of like feeling destitute, feeling without, right? And it's possible that a lot of you guys, how do I want to phrase this? It feels, if you're anything like me, you were living your life and you had a tough go of it, and maybe you had like a series of tower moments, and then all of a sudden spiritual awakening, razzle dazzle, right? And then all of a sudden it's like, this is the thing, like this is gonna set my spirit free, like this is spirituality, it's going to be the secret spice, it's gonna be the secret ingredient to help me turn my life around. And for a lot of us, that wasn't necessarily true. Like it did help, but in some ways, like maybe it hurt you guys or actually made you regress in some aspects. And so we end up in these funny positions where like life as we know it like isn't really fair, and all we can control is our reactions to things. But then also on the other hand, you're putting in a tremendous amount of like spiritual labor, and you're also not seeing that manifest physically before your eyes, and then that is really frustrating. And so when you lose faith in life and then you lose faith in spirit, you inevitably lose faith in yourself as well. And so I think that for a lot of you guys who are experiencing this energy, this is sort of perhaps where you are feeling a little bit like there is a bit of hope that you still have, but not knowing like who or what or where to place that hope in. Because in many ways life has let you down, and in many ways spirituality has let you down. And I think that it's important to talk about these topics in this community, and it's not stuff that I see other people talking about, you know? And I think that it's such a good thing to do these readings and to come on live stream and, you know, to talk about the eclipses and to talk about all of this. Like, it's amazing, you know? But I also think that, you know, it's a shame that like we don't talk about appropriation in the spiritual community. We don't talk about decolonization, you know, like fucking anti-racism work that is supposed to be going in to your spiritual journey. Like, we don't talk about what happens when your spirituality lets you down. We don't talk about how hard it is for you guys to form friends in a spiritual community and have them be healthy and thriving. You know, a lot of you guys try to make friends in the spiritual community and they end up being just as toxic as they were when you were making friends in fucking high school. And no one tells us this stuff. No one told me jack shit. No one told me anything. And I have a video that I want to make about things that I have learned during my Saturn return, because my Saturn return is almost over. My Saturn is in Aquarius. I know a lot of you guys have a very similar placement. For those of you, I've actually noticed that in my demographics, I have a younger demographic growing and coming to my channel and watching my videos. So I think a lot of those people are probably Saturn and Pisces who are getting ready to have their Saturn return. So I am preparing myself mentally and emotionally to do a video about like what I have learned during my Saturn return, but I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. I have to really, you know, sit there and kind of really kind of flesh out some of those details. But I think that these things are really important to talk about, and I don't see anyone else talking about them. And so like I feel like I have to talk about these things because it's my responsibility too, you know. Like, it's also very easy for me to look around and go, well, no one else is talking about like the real shit that's going on, but like I'm also here and I'm part of this community and it's part of my responsibility. And if you look at the progression of my channel from the beginning, you'll often find that some of my most popular series has come out of times where I was really pissed off that no one was talking about things that should have been talked about, or when I thought that people were fucking wrong. When people were just wrong, that they had it backwards. You know, I did the lots because of that. I started the Divine Feminine Rising series, like, because of that, because I saw misinformation. I saw people getting it backwards. I saw people not talking about things that I thought should have been talked about. And I just had nothing but just the pure audacity to do it, you know? And like I said, over the last year and a half, like, I haven't been as vocal and I haven't been as available for you guys. I just showed up and I did my job. I made the readings. I did my job, but I wasn't here in this type of capacity for you. And so I'm trying to be mindful and I'm trying to be better at that, because I know that it is something that's needed here in our little house. And I think that you all and I think we just all need it. We need to come together a little bit more and have more fun. We need to have more fun, and we also need to have like real conversations, you know, about like stuff that's actually going on, because there's a disparity between your spiritual lives and your actual life. Like, there's no fucking bridge to Terabithia for you, and it's like we gotta. And a big download that I actually got over the last few weeks is about a keystone. And a keystone is sort of like that final block in the middle of a bridge, so that way it doesn't collapse, you know? And so for a lot of you, that keystone is about integration. And how do we do integration? We do it by, one, not rushing ahead. We do it, two, by combining deconstruction and decolonization as part of your spiritual practices. Because if you are trying to find your authentic self through appropriating other practices from other cultures, you are just going to get farther and farther away from the truth of who you are and where you come from. And that is a very important lesson that I learned during my Saturn retrograde. Let me check these comments. Let me check these comments. You are preaching. You are preaching right now. Your own art. That's valid. Not sleeping. You're preaching right now. I feel it. I feel. I always say I have like a preacher spirit. Of course. Hello. Hi, Maria. How are you? I'm sneaking on YouTube to watch Lauren. It's a Thursday special. Fucking afternoon delight. I'm losing my faith in human because of the treatment of animals. Yeah, I get that. I understand that, Wallaby. Specimen, the real. L, yep. I knew you'd like that, Ren. I guess the tests come in many shapes and forms. Yeah. And there's, you know, and especially with your spirituality, like, there's no groundedness. And I know that I've had gifts my entire life. I have not known a single moment of silence in my entire life. There has always been a spirit talking to me, showing my whole life. But when I had my big awakening 4 years ago at this point, no one was talking about deconstruction. No one was talking about the necessity of being grounded so that way you don't fall into psychosis. No one was talking about ableism and elitism within the spiritual community. And because of that, like, I fell into every single rabbit hole that you could possibly fall in. And it took so much work in order to climb out of those holes and realize that a lot of the spiritual beliefs that I had were unhealthy, were flat out wrong, and were harmful to myself and other people. You cannot be a spiritual individual. You cannot be enlightened without humility. And, you know, I think it's a Buddhist principle that says, you know, what do you do before enlightenment? You chop wood and you carry water. What do you do after enlightenment? You chop wood and you carry water, right? It's like you are a person. You have a life. You have to make it through your days. And so, again, it's about integrating your gifts. It's about integrating critical thinking skills, common sense, groundedness, appropriate practices, self-evaluation, not necessarily self-abuse, but self-evaluation from an honest standpoint. These are things that needed to be added into our practices and into our dialogue, so that way you can operate in a spiritual capacity responsibly and healthfully. There's still 6 months to go. Listen, Legendary, I don't want to hear that shit. I know. I know that Saturn is still in Aquarius for 6 months. But it's going direct now, which immediately makes me feel a little bit better. And I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. My birthday is March 6th, the day before Saturn moves out of Aquarius and into Pisces. So it's going to be the happiest of birthdays. Everything counts with Saturn. Yeah. Don't I know it? Luckily for me, I have a couple Capricorn placements, so like discipline, and that's the thing, like Saturn talks a lot about discipline, but I found that like a lot of what Saturn was trying to teach me, it was discipline in a different way. For me, it was like I thought I have to work hard, like I have to hustle, like I have to be better, I have to produce more. And like that's not, I've never had a problem with my work ethic or my productivity or my ability to produce. That is what I'm good at my whole entire life. I have the ability to get it out there. Saturn wanted me to be disciplined in other ways that I wasn't aware of. A lot of which had to do with my mental health. Yes, sister, I'm 35 and last 5 years in a whirlwind. Yeah, don't I preach, don't I know it? As you share more and more, we have your support. I love you guys. Let me see. Would you rather, or rather you have our support? You know what I mean? Yeah, I gotcha. I'm picking up, just throwing down. Hit the spot for me. I'm older though, been shedding so much, including family, and yet I feel deserted by spirit. Well, you know, okay, let's look at that. You feel deserted by spirit, and that is not a unique experience. A lot of people feel that way. So, you know how when it comes to your physical relationships, a lot of the lessons we learn is about how people don't always show up like the way that we want them to. That we can't like project an image of like who or what a person is supposed to be, or the roles that they're supposed to play in our lives because they are autonomous. Spirit is the same way. And so oftentimes like we can project an idea of who and what spirit is, how they're supposed to show up, what they're supposed to do. And this is all stuff that I had to go through too, right? And when they don't show up in that capacity, we feel abandoned. When in reality, sometimes spirit sets boundaries with us, just like we have to set boundaries with other people. Because if you are trying to deconstruct codependency in your life and in your physical relationships, and instead you become codependent on spirit, have you really worked through codependency? No, you've just transferred it from one to the other, right? And so these are things that we have to think of. And I have worked with a lot of different pantheons. I've worked with a lot of different gods and goddesses. And one of like the primary lessons that I've always taken from all of them is the idea of like, they have autonomy. I don't get to decide how they show up, who they are, what role they're playing in my life. There have been times where I've worked with deities and like, I want them to come in and give me a little snuggle. And they're saying, hey, my job is to come in here and kick your ass up and down the street. And you're gonna bitch and moan and you're gonna fucking resent me, but it's gonna be good for you. And they're right. They're right, you know? I'm like, I want you to come in and pull tarot and spend some quality time with me. And they're like, we're gonna ruin your life. Like, we're gonna rip you open from the inside out because that is what I'm here to do. You don't get to tell me what my job is, right? And so we have to afford spirit, your ancestors, your deities, your entities, whatever it is that you're working with, the same level of autonomy that you hope for yourself. And when you look at it through that perspective, yes, you feel a little bit less abandoned. And sometimes when things aren't going our way, we can shut out spirit. So we're not receptive to the messages. We're not receptive to the help. And again, I've been through all of this. Like, there's nothing that anyone could say that I wouldn't go, yep, been there, done that. I basically have a summer house. I have a timeshare on that block, right? And so I get it, but we get resentful and then we close ourselves off from our own help, you know? It's like if you go to therapy and the therapist tells you like, maybe you're the problem. You're like, well, fuck you, I'm gonna get a new therapist. Every therapist tells you that you're the problem, like a little bit, you know? And so that's why I said, like, humility is, one, something Saturn will teach you real quick, but humility is a really important part of the spiritual journey. You have to be willing to be wrong. You have to be willing to see things from a new perspective. Sometimes you have to be willing to, like, let some stuff go. So, like, a higher love or a higher level of wisdom can come in. Like, reminder to chat. You do plenty, the perfect amount. You give yourself a hard time. You need a little self-time to do what keeps you well. Yeah. Honestly, to be very honest with you, I find that, like, this stuff keeps me well. Being with you guys and talking to you guys and not hiding in my little turtle shell, that's really good for me. I feel good when I'm productive and I'm doing stuff. Again, I have ADHD, I'm neurodivergent, like I'm multi-passionate, as they like to call it. And so I like to have a lot of different, you know, irons on the fire. It's good for me. It's otherwise, you know, I kind of very Piscean, I kind of slink back into the into the depths, but I always have to be mindful of my energy levels. It's just like everyone else. You're all trying to do the same thing. I feel like I'm glitching a bit. Recently I heard the phrase, come back here. Thought partners. Wait, I lost it. Recently heard the phrase thought partners require establishing psychological safety to say no and have other ideas. Is the connection threatened by disagreement? Differences. Exactly. That's perfect. And you know what, it brings up an interesting point, because a lot of the things that like I'm really passionate about and like I want to talk about, again, like decolonization and deconstruction within like spiritual ideologies, that are conversations that truthfully not all of you are ready for. That I know a lot of people will get mad at me, you know, and they'll want to leave, and like I have to allow them the space to do so, you know. Thank you for explaining Keystone, because Keystone keeps showing up in your reality, but I wasn't sure what that meant. Yeah, it's like the center block that you put in the middle of a bridge to, you know, uphold the structural integrity. And so for me, the way that I've been intuiting the Keystone in a very brash way, it's like the fucking point. Like, what's the point of this for you? And there is a sense that like at one point, like a lot of us lost sight of like what the point is. Like, why are you doing it? What's your why? We get so overly curated. We get so inundated with information. We're trying to run so far ahead of the pack that we forget why you're even doing the things that you're doing. It just becomes like it's more stuff on your to-do list or a means to an end than it is meaningful. And maybe that is why so many people feel empty right now. Because they're doing things that don't feel meaningful, or they forgot the meaning in it, right? And again, it's something that we all do. No one is perfect. We're all trying to figure this out together. There's not an instruction book, so to speak. Thank you for explaining Keystone. Balancing the 3D with the 5D. Too far into either one. Spectrum, you know. Yeah, like for me, I don't even like use words like 3D and 5D anymore. I don't use words like ascension anymore, because they're too easy to use, and they're too briefly explained. And you have to remember that when people come into spiritual spaces, they come into spiritual spaces, yes, they're called, yes, they're guided, they're also extraordinarily vulnerable. This spiritual community is full of people who are extremely vulnerable. They have been abused and neglected. They have been a shell of themselves most of their life, and they're trying to find that meaning. They're trying to find connection. People want to be seen. They want to be heard. They want to be valued. They want to tap in to a sense of power within them that they were never afforded before they had some type of spiritual awakening or experience, right? And because these people are vulnerable, it means that they're very easily taken advantage of, not just by practitioners, but also by spiritual ideologies. The most infectious thing in the world is an idea. And if you have the wrong idea, it will ruin you. You will fall into psychosis. You will lose all connection to reality, because this is not a matrix. This is the real world. It's not a simulation. This is a society that we built, that human beings have been building for thousands upon thousands upon thousands of years. This is not a spiritual projection or a trick. This is the consequences of humanity's actions, right? And again, when you have the wrong idea, you will start offshooting all of these things for spiritual, what's the right word that I want to use? With spiritual origins, when they're human origins, right? Not everything we have to, in witchcraft and magic, we always talk about the mundane over the magical. It's not that they can't exist side by side, but we have to stay rooted to the mundane. Let's look at animals, for example. We were talking about the birds earlier. You know, I heard someone on TikTok, and I can't remember their name, but they made this beautiful point about the animals. And they said, you know, not every bird is assigned for you. I thought, this is going to be good. Let me lean in. Said, yes, you know, like, Animals do have symbology. They do mean things. It can hold some kind of spiritual significance if and when you see a certain animal. But how egoic, how hyper individualist is it of us to assume that every bird that crosses our path is there for us? As if they do not have autonomy, as if they are not just living their life. They're just existing around us, that we are constantly trying to dominate nature, forgetting that like we are a part of it. Not every bird is a messenger for you. That's not their only purpose. They have autonomy, they have their own experiences, right? And so even just playing around with ideas like that sometimes I go, oh, that's a blue jay. I go, that's a blue jay living its life. Maybe it's not always about you, Lauren, right? And again, it's a different idea that is uncomfortable, but is purifying to the mind and the soul when you start unraveling those other ideas, those other gnosis that have been put in your brain that may not be true or right or fair or appropriate. This is the work, you know? Because we always talk about how spirituality is the process of unbecoming, but at the same time, when we step into spiritual spaces and we join spiritual communities, we become spiritual, right? So in a place where you should be unbecoming, you're actually becoming something else. All of a sudden, you're talking about this, or you're talking about chakras, or you're talking about the other thing that like you don't really know. You don't really know. Like, you haven't studied the Vedas. Like, do you understand what I'm saying? Am I making sense? You know? And so you become like this caricature of like what a spiritual person is supposed to be. And next thing you know, and again, I did this. Like, I had to work through this. Next thing you know, you are regurgitating the same exact spiritual fucking jargon that everyone else is saying. And you go and you watch tarot readings and everyone's talking about abundance and this and that. And, you know, one, again, it's not fair to cultures that we steal these things from when we have our own cultures that we can be exploring. It's also not fair to us because we're limiting ourselves, and it also makes for lazy mystics. It makes for lazy intuitives, you know? So something that you'll notice in my readings is like, I don't really talk about chakras anymore because they are a very precious, sacred part of people's heritage, of their culture. They have religious connotations for people, and I haven't read the Vedas. And so, like, who am I to speak on them, you know? And when a reader comes forward and says, oh, like, you have a blockage in your crown, what the fuck does that mean? You have a blockage in your root. You need to clear out your root. What does that mean? Don't rely on just saying a chakra is blocked, especially when you don't even understand the intricacies of how chakras even work. Don't be lazy. And this is something my students, for those of you that don't know, I have run a bit of mystery school for the last 1.5 years on my Patreon. And for almost a year, I've been doing intuitive work groups. A lot of it's a tarot school, but a lot of it is also a lot of intuitive study, energy working, stuff like that. And my students will tell you that I will often say, don't be lazy, push forward. Don't just say abundance. What does it mean? Don't just say there's a blockage. What is the blockage? Where did it come from? How do we fix it? Get into the specifics. You're gifted. You're talented. Don't rest on your laurels, you know? And so these are things that I think about, and these are things that I've discussed ad nauseum, again, with my students and with my clients, you know, but that's not stuff that is really put out here in front for you guys. Elle will know. Elle's been part of my school. We can face things when we know we have to. No bearing the head. Yeah. TB. Hi, LB. Let me see. What do you think of the Sophia Code? Just curious. I think there can be wisdom found in all things, but I also think it's important to remember that we don't have like precise proof of anything. Nothing. Not a damn thing. And so you have to be mindful. You know, Sophia in Latin, it means wisdom. And so I think for me, part of wisdom is always knowing that there's more to learn. I like to look at things philosophically. I like to look at things theoretically, because for me, I recognize that there are little to no absolute truths. You know, and you'll find in spiritual conversations and communities and creators, people talk in absolute truths as if it's true, period, and it's true for everyone. And oftentimes it is not. I will say in terms of Sophia codes and the rose lines, that I have found that working with primarily feminine deities and energies has been revolutionary for me in my practice. I didn't realize how connected and dependent I was on male gods, which is a reflection of my own internal misogyny, which was conditioned in me, and I unconsciously upheld. And as I started working through my own internal misogyny, I realized how a lot of those feelings of like spirituality, like it doesn't work, and like maybe prayers don't get answered and all of this, I realized I was so dependent on male gods. And I had this sort of moment where I was like, maybe God's a woman. Like, it is intelligent design. Like, I had like sort of this moment. And I started working with primarily feminine goddesses, and my ancestors. And I still work with male deities, and angels and demons and all types. I'm a little bit like a Chex Mix over here. But I did find that it was absolutely revolutionary for me as an individual. It was revolutionary for my personal practice and in my perspective of life. And as someone, like I said, I've worked with a lot of different like pantheons and energies and deities, I have never felt more at home in my skin, and I've never felt more empowered or at home in my practice than I do right now, with who I have and who I'm working with and the support that is behind me. And so, that's just my experience. I went through everything you're talking about, down the rabbit hole. While I went, I put my hands in my faith of others, prayer, meditation, developing martyrs from God. So simple. Yeah, it's something that, it's, again, no absolute truths. It's all very simple, and it's also all very complicated. Part of Mars and Gemini, this transit, is about recognizing that two things can be true at the same exact time. And it's difficult to operate in a liminal space where there are many truths, because as human beings, it is our nature to find something to attach to, an ideology, a religion, this is who I am, a label, I'm a light worker, I'm a this, I'm a that. It's all of these labels. And again, it's time after time, year after year, I am consistently reminded how not naming myself on this channel was one of the bravest and wisest things I had ever done. It is the Untitled Tarot. I have no labels. I have no box that I put myself in, and I don't provide you a box to put me in either. And that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool for me. God, I don't want to bum you out, but Saturn is moving into your sun, Lauren. Ain't going nowhere. You've got more fun coming. Listen, Legendary, you can stop that right now. I don't care. I don't care. Don't rain on my parade. Love that breakdown of spirit boundaries. There's only so far training wheels will stay on, and I'm sure spirit come in when it is correct time, even if we don't know. Yeah, of course. We are the common denominator in all of our experiences. That is absolutely true. You are the common denominator, but, for just to play devil's advocate, you may be the common denominator in all of your experiences, but that doesn't mean that you are the common perpetrator in all of your experiences. That's important to remember, because it's very easy to take, well, I'm the common denominator in all of my experiences, and then combine that with some toxic Christianity, and next thing you know, everything is your fault. Every bad thing, again, is a reflection of your own unhealed trauma. And sometimes the world is just unfair, and sometimes people are bad, and sometimes just bad things happen to you, and it's not your fault. And it's not your fault. You just happen to be there, and that fucking sucks, And so again, we have to be mindful of, and it's not just mindful of it, but also mindful of our own internal dialogues about it, and how quickly we're able to just take something and run with it without forgetting the nuance. Don't forget, spirituality, it's supposed to be full of nuance. It's supposed to be full of contradictions. It's supposed to be a process of critical thinking as well, of comparing and contrasting what feels more like truth. Are we accounting for, human experience? Are we accounting for all of these things, Oftentimes we're not. People and experiences like car on a highway. Sometimes you're driving the same place, and then some take a new lane, and some take new lanes and turns out the same journey. Yeah. who are the original custodians of the country you speak to us from. As part of the decolonization here in Australia, they are acknowledged at most gatherings to pay respects. Well, Wallaby, I am from the United States of America, otherwise known as Turtle Island. And when I think of who are the founders, it is the indigenous people of Turtle Island. That this country is full of wonderful, beautiful, hardworking people that are here purely through the accident of birth. And this country, as we know it today, was formed on racism, abuse of power, colonization, and I do not hold the founders of this country with nearly as high regard as maybe other people might, because I give credit where it's due. Because even today, in 2022, when you look through Canada and you look through the United States of America, there are still indigenous people who are being abused. Their rights, their lands are being stripped away from them. I am for land back. There are still children being separated from their families. There are still government officials going in on tribal property. It is still a problem. And I think that is when we don't include intersectionality in our spirituality, we are half-assing it. We are doing ourselves and others a disservice. Because if your spirituality or your abundance theory does not account for institutionalized racism and abuse, if your spirituality does not consider the implications of Black and brown and indigenous people, I don't want to hear your opinion. Because I think that you've only read half the book. I think that you skim the pages and you pick the parts that felt really good and fuzzy for you, completely ignoring the rest of us. And a huge part of spirituality is about community. And if when you are talking about being a light worker or you're a starseed or you're all of this, but you completely discount the harm that is going on to your brothers and your sisters right next to you, that's a problem. That's a big problem for me. And that's not something that I stand in my house, and that's something that I'm consistently always learning and working to deconstruct out of my own consciousness, so that way my magic and my power and my voice can truly uplift not just people that look like me or think like me, but other people. And so a huge part of that is also making space to uplift voices of people who have been experiencing things that I may not have firsthand experience with. Do you know what I mean? And so, no, I don't hold the founding fathers of the United States of America, because they didn't think that Black people were people, and they didn't think that women should have rights, and women couldn't even buy their own property or have a credit card until the 80s, which is, interestingly enough, the first time that we started initiating credit scores. And why would they do that? To continually impoverish and keep Black, brown, indigenous people and women from being able to hold the mechanisms of power, the means of production. Why do you think when you watch music videos, for instance, half the time there are a bunch of, naked women everywhere? And I'm sex positive. I have a lot of clients who are sex workers, but it's all of these women, and it's all of these, it's money, and it's jewels, and it's the cars, and it's these vacation. It's like this influencer lifestyle, because women are a commodity. When you own the women, when you own people of color, when you disenfranchise them, when you don't invest in their education, when you don't invest in their communities, when you keep them from being able to use their voice and speak about their experiences, when you dismiss them when they do, you get to own the means of production. You own the people. And part of spirituality is about freedom. It's about not being owned. Not being owned by an ideology, not being owned by the government, not being owned by your trauma, not being owned. You are not for sale. And again, these are important things that go into this community. It's intersectionality. It's common sense. It's critical thinking. It's the right thing to do. And these are things that I'm passionate about. And so that's why these are things I preach on, usually behind the scenes, but today is obviously the day. And I can go a lot more in depth, but Brittany Young, I have to stop taking everything as a sign. Yeah, you'll just drive yourself crazy. It's nice hearing this reading, but must go to mommy duties until next time. Bye, Maria! There are way too many readers who only produce love readings. Well, do you know what? I used to be one of those readers that would really poo-poo on love. I don't do love readings. I want to talk to you about your spiritual and your personal development. And I had to have a moment with myself and realize how fucking egoic is that? Like, how much hubris do I have? Love is the main thing that everyone wants. What human being doesn't want love? Again, like I said before, that doesn't want to be nurtured, to be seen, to be heard, to be loved. It's like one of the most intrinsic desires of the human spirit. And if I don't want to do a love reading, if I'm too good for it, that makes me an asshole. That means that I am not properly equipped to do my job. And so I started doing love readings. I just did a love reading at 8 o'clock this morning for one of my very beloved clients, and I used to be that person. We do too many love readings. It's not all about that. You know why? Because I was bitter. Because I was bitter about love, and so I didn't want to read it for other people, and I had a blockage in myself, and so I couldn't read it for other people. And so I had to work on myself. I had to get over myself. I had to humble myself before my deck of cards so I can actually show up and help in the way that people needed, because as a reader, I don't get to decide what's important to you. I'm here to answer the fucking question. I'm here to read the cards. And part of a reader means showing up. Like, this is a platform, a forum right now where I can speak about all of my personal opinions and I can get into the nitty-gritty of my own personal gnosis. But like, when someone books a session, when I sit down to do a zodiac reading, it's not about me. And I think the thing is that too many readers make it about them. It's not about us. It's about you. It's about your problems and your desires where you need clarity. It's about you. It's not about me. So if you want to read on love, who am I to judge? Who am I to say no? Say, oh, well, this is really the area you should be focusing on instead. It's not my job. My job is to read the cards, to give the message. I don't get to judge what people get readings on. And, truthfully, I don't really get to judge what other readers read on either. Some people, it's like love witches. Have you ever met a love witch? They are enchanting. They're absolutely enchanting, And there are a lot of people that don't believe in love spells and love workings for whatever reason. It's the same thing with tarot readings. Some readers and intuitives have a special niche. They are especially qualified to do love readings, And even readings that we can think are low vibrational or petty or karmic or any of this stuff, that is a collective of people that are looking for guidance. They're looking for answers, and we all start somewhere. When I first started watching tarot, those are the first types of readings that I watched, and it allowed me to eventually build a bridge to other themes and other topics, right? And so, again, there's no absolute truths, and we have to be humble and mindful about, our perspectives, because they are open to change, and they should change in many ways. Can have similar ideas without using others' culture, language. Culture is cultivated. Beautiful, beautiful. Reminds me of when you say not to paint with another's brush. Absolutely. Good morning, Lauren B. What, your name isn't Lauren? Nope, my name absolutely is Lauren. I was talking about the Untitled Tarot before. It's like tuning in a morning radio. Brookdale Public Radio. Man, there's behind you. I know, legendary. I know. I'm just messing with you. LB podcast. I'd like to say. I've never considered doing a podcast. Hi, Grace. Sheila. Glad to hear you. Glad to hear me preaching again. I don't know. I got a poll earlier that was people need me. People show up. Just show up and just see what comes out. So here I am. I was like, I'm not going to talk about these topics today, and here I am. Sunday service came early. As a Black woman, I have a hard time diving into this realm of spirituality, tarot, astrology, when I hear it from white content creators. Absolutely. I trust you, obviously, because I'm here, but not many years. Of course. because there is a huge subset, and I used to be one of them, right? So again, I'm not shitting on the other white people, like, but there's a huge subset of creators that, like, everything that they have to share with you is appropriated from someone else, you know? It's like the same thing, it's like with Starseeds. I used to have a playlist on my channel called the Starseed Chronicles, which has now been changed to the Psychic Chronicles, because in the beginning of my journey, I came across this idea of Starseeds, and I thought, wow, that makes sense. I've never really felt comfortable or at home in my surroundings, so like maybe I'm not from here. Not realizing I've never felt comfortable at home in my surroundings because they were fucking traumatic and I was being neglected and not nurtured properly. And when we really dive into what starseeds are, it's indigenous folklore. So at the best, any like white person that's calling themselves a starseed, at the absolute fucking best, you are appropriating indigenous folklore, which is fucked up and wrong, as if we have not taken enough from the indigenous. But furthermore, on the absolute other fucking end of the spectrum, it is a pipeline to the alt-right. People don't realize that. If you study occultism in Nazi Germany, you will find that so many of those techniques are used today in the New Age spiritual community. You are not a starseed. You are loved. You are special. You have so much complexity to you, just as you are. You don't need it. And I thought that I did. I thought that I needed to be a starseed. It was, and I also realized that it's very ableist and it's very elitist, because what it does is it creates a hierarchy, right? Of I am here to save the world. I am here to serve the collective, right? Which is what? It's a colonizer mindset. Who says that other people need to be saved? Who says that I need to raise the vibration because everyone else and the rest of the world is so low vibrational? What the fuck are we talking about? It's like people that talk about like the 144,000 light workers. 144,000 light workers here to save humanity. There's 8 billion people in the world. So what are the other 7.9 billion of us doing? Are we in a fucking coffee break, right? Like, it's when you actually start unraveling it, it doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? It's ableist. It creates a hierarchy. It puts us in a savior complex. And then when we are actually in a position where we need help, we won't allow ourselves to do it. And, a lot of people who are really into like the starseed dialogues and the narratives, they'll say, well, I'm not like that. I'm not ableist. I'm not racist. I'm not appropriative. Okay. But part of spirituality, part of, being community oriented, part of, the dialogue behind starseeds and lightworkers and all of this stuff, it's about humanity. It's about everyone else. So if there are people in your community that are losing themselves to psychosis, that are out of touch with reality, that are abusing folklore and practices from other cultures, and you stand by idly, does that not make you a coward? I mean, think about it in this aspect. Think if you were a cisgendered man, right? And you're sitting there and you're looking around at all of the other ways that misogyny, creeps into society, about all of the other guys around you that are really misogynistic or abusive to women or any of that, and you look at yourself and you go, well, that's not me. Okay, but there's a problem in your community. Like, there's a problem with the other men. If you're not talking about it, if you are not a part of the solution, does that not make you a coward? I think it does. Is it, you know what I mean? Why wouldn't you look around at your community and go, okay, maybe I don't feel that way, but there's obviously a problem here. Should we not address that problem? If I really care about not being misrepresented in my own beliefs, if I really care about people's healing and making sure people are sitting in their abundant joy and all of this stuff, like, well, shouldn't we address the things that circumvent that get in the way of that? Like, we should talk about that, right? And so, spirituality in many ways, it's like alcohol. You have to use it responsibly, don't operate heavy machinery, especially if you fucking stole it from someone else's property. Love readings are cool. They're cool when they're needed, not every day, all day. You have balance, others not. Well, again, some people have very specific paths. If you're a love reader, if you're a love witch, you're not supposed to be talking about a million other things that could be talked about, because that's not what you're here to do. You're here to talk about love. You know, if someone was a left-hand path practitioner, or if someone was into baneful magic, I wouldn't expect for them to be talking about love and light, because it's not their job. That's not what they're here to do. So again, sometimes balance for someone else is sitting in the totality of like what their niche is, or like what their primary calling is, and it's not really for us to judge. I talk about a variety of topics. Hi Garrett. I talk about a variety of topics, but that's me. Like I sit in, like the axis of the wheel. Some people sit in a whole peg, and so we have to, be mindful. Love through exploring spiritual YouTube, like we would think. The love of the community, yeah, and also taught me discernment. Yeah, absolutely. I remember your talk about love readings, humility. Yeah, love is everything. And I used to be the biggest bitch and moaner about love readings. Like, I was just such a little bitch about it. Like, but again, it's because I was bitter and I had a blockage, so I couldn't give accurate or appropriate love readings. And subconsciously, I knew that. But I had to get over myself. I had to grow. I had to humble myself. And again, I had to realize that it's not my job to change the reading. It's not my job to tell someone, no, you don't want a reading on that. It's my job to grow up, to hone my skills, to work through my blockages so I can be of the highest of service to whoever needs me in whatever capacity they need me for, And I have my own boundaries and ethics, and every reader gets it. I don't really read on health. I won't read on pregnancy, right? Some readers don't want to do third-party readings. Some readers don't want to talk about love, right? And just like witchcraft, that the practitioner sets the morals and ethics for their practice. It's the same thing with readers. So every reader is going to be different. Every reader maybe has a specialty or no specialty at all. We're all different, and we have to hold space for those differences. Otherwise, we become too homogenized, and it's not fucking worth it. We're not actually helping at that point. Listen, I was bitter. I spent so much of my life fucking bitter. Like, I get it. Of course. Gotta go, take care. Good to catch you all. Bye! Star Ackerman. Makes me love you even more. Oh, thanks. Hi, Lexi. Hi. Dang, gotta hop off for work at the best part, but thank you, Lauren. Thanks for sharing space in this chat, yo. I love Elle. Elle's the best. Elizabeth. Hello. Hello, David. Sitting here just nodding away. Star Ackerman. What do the other 8 billion people do? Exactly. It's ridiculous. And again, when it comes to, I'm here. Have you ever tapped into the frequency of the earth, the vibration of the earth? Earth is doing just fine. You don't need to raise the vibration of the collective. You need to raise your own vibration. You need to do some trauma work. That's what you need to do. Tap into the vibration of the earth. Feel it. Feels fine. Feels fine. You know why? Because Mother Nature knows how to heal herself, just like your physical body knows how to heal itself. When a foreign body enters, what happens? White blood cells, right? The earth is the same thing. She knows how to set her own equilibrium. The vibration of the earth is fine. As we slowly kill her, she will slowly kill us back. She will reset the order for herself. Just like when you get a fever, when some bacteria or virus enters, you get a fever because your body's trying to burn it off. It's fine. When you really tap into people, most people are doing the best they can. Most people are doing the best they can with what they have. And most people are working really hard, and they're really tired, and they're lonely, and they feel outnumbered. But somehow there is this essence of the human spirit that is forever persevering and full of love and hope. And it is the most beautiful thing in the absolute world to witness, that even in the depths of one's personal despair, they can look at another and extend just like an olive branch of peace or love to them when they have nothing for themselves, because the human spirit perseveres. And I think that most of us at the core of us are inherently good. And again, doing the best with what we have. And I don't think nearly anyone gets what they truly do deserve or what is fair. And so when you look at, I need to raise the vibration of the collective. No, you don't. You need to love the collective. You need to hold space for their individual experiences. You need to listen to their truths. You just need to listen to their pain. The collective doesn't need to be saved. You need to be saved. And that's why you have found an ideology that puts you in a hierarchy, because it gives you purpose where you feel like you have none. It gives you someone to save, which makes you feel like somehow you are saving yourself. And when you come down off that ladder, you can look around and realize that you're not supposed to lead anyone. You're just supposed to stand side by side, hold hands, listen. And that's what I say. It's, in many ways, it's very, very simple. And in many ways, it's very, very complicated. And so it's always, the scales will never be fully balanced. It's always this process of trying to bob and weave, you know, figure out what is true, what is not working anymore, you know, what ideas are not appropriate, you know, and you'll get there. And every day it'll be a little bit different. Every day it will feel a little bit different, you know, but as I said before, if you were trying to tap into your authentic self and you're doing it through appropriating, you know, fucking chakras and starseeds and light and all this stuff, that it's like, where did you, it's like we took it and we just ran with it and we never questioned ourselves if it was appropriative, if it was harmful to other people, if it was harmful to us. And a lot of you guys will know, especially those of you guys like on the Patreon, is I, more than anything else, am the biggest supporter and promoter of ancestral work. Yes, ancestral work does go into healing ancestral trauma, ancestral racism, ancestral prejudice, all of these things. But in many ways, I feel like I'm becoming the channel for the ancestors unintentionally. But there are people that I've worked with, and even in myself, that when I was told, when it was shown to me that, like, you shouldn't be talking about starseeds, like, that's not a thing, it, you know, it's appropriative and it leads to, like, this alt-right Nazi pipeline, right? That, you know, why are all these people talking about chakras when they've never even read the Vedas? Like, how many Reiki healers are there that don't even understand the culture with proper reverence, that they're pulling these things from? And I felt like everyone was taking my toys away. Well, I can't have anything. Can't have anything. And I realized this absolute fucking bullshit. I have everything. Because when I actually stopped and I looked into my history and I looked into my culture and my family magic, my ancestral gifts, I realized there is a whole world that, like, I never explored. There are new forms of divination that I've learned from my ancestors. There are different symbols, different practices, different prayers that we have. Like, there is so much. There are certain gods and goddesses that I never realized, like, why are they always coming into my space? Why do I seem to have, like, an affinity for this particular pantheon over another? I realized that these are the gods that my ancestors worshipped for generations before Christianization and Westernization. Of course, I have a connection to these gods and goddesses, obviously. Like, and I didn't realize that, you know? And so, again, I will, before anything else, always encourage you guys to look into your culture. Connect with your ancestors, do the healing, do the work, and do the fun stuff too. Like, your ancestors are so much fun. There is so much wisdom and knowledge that they have to share with you. When you make a prayer for money, it's your ancestors answering it. When you make a prayer for protection, it's your ancestors answering it. Your ancestors are your front line time and time again, every single time. They should be honored. They should be venerated. You should be working with them. Yes, you should also be doing the deconstruction and the decolonization. Again, doing generational trauma healing. But at the same time, there is a wealth of magic and wisdom and experience that, like, you couldn't even imagine if you just did a little research. It's crazy. The synchronicities, it's insane. The meditations that I have with my ancestors are just out of this world. If I want to connect with my past lives, I go and root through my ancestors and they walk me through it. Like, it is this phenomenal experience that has brought so much joy into my life. And the best thing about it is that the magic is clean, because it's not from anyone else. I didn't take it from another culture. I didn't take it without studying it, without properly venerating it. This is my culture. This is where my family comes from. This is from our motherland. Like, this is what we have always done. And that feels good. And so when you're frustrated, when people like me are screaming at you about decolonization and deconstruction, and you get all because I got frustrated, just remember that, like, on the other side of that hard and laborious yet necessary work is, like, a whole other realm of magic and experience for you. I've had so much fun with my ancestors, just, like, the best time. My Nona is so fucking cool. Like, it is, I look at them and I go, wow, I can't believe that I'm related to, because you guys are fucking badass. Like, you are so amazing. I'm having so much fun here. There's so many room for activities, and I can't get in trouble for it. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm not taking from other people. I'm pulling from our own well. Awesome. It's great. Super. Like, you know, like, it's just better. It's just better. Hi from Ireland. LB is fired up today. That's because it's getting hotter in this room and I'm starting to sweat. Sitting here nodding away. I'm back. What's going on? I'm a little fired up. You know, I'm really passionate about these topics, and I haven't been, like, speaking about them. So I'm all jazzed up now that I am. For 10 more years until last year when I really started working on my heart and the wounds that I have, we've all been where there are 1 point left. Yep. We need to have more compassion for one another and where we're at. Absolutely. I saw a post on a Reiki page on my FB, and this girl said that she felt sad that she didn't have psychic abilities. Really touched my core. I wish she was watching too. Everybody has abilities. Everybody has intuitive abilities. But again, they're not one size fit all. You guys, your gifts are special and unique to you. So they might not look like my gift. Like, part of what I'm doing right now, part of what I'm doing is, like, it's an exercise in channeling as well. And you guys know, once I start it's what my friend Ariel calls, like, getting in the pocket. When I get in the pocket, part of that is channeled, you know? And so your gifts are very unique. They may not, and that's something I really enjoy, is helping people understand, like, what their unique gifts are, because they're different. They're not going to look like everyone else's. And what that means is it's going to require you to sit down with yourself and really kind of examine who you are. And different times you see different synchronicities, you know? Maybe you're not a psychic medium, but maybe you're like Dr. Dolittle and you have this crazy telepathy thing with animals. That's amazing. And you'll often find on the Patreon in the Worker Bee tier, I did a series like a year and a half ago on all of the different Claire abilities. And something that I had noted in all of those episodes was that you will find certain people with certain intuitive gifts being guided towards certain professions. For instance, someone with, like, Claire aliens or Claire gustance, the smelling or the tasting, oftentimes you'll find them as people that are really into fragrance, or people that are really into cooking. It's like when you can kind of taste the recipe before it really, like, comes together, right? And there's sort of like this spiritual connection you have to, like, the spices. A lot of times it's like kitchen witchery, right? That is a way that, like, those gifts are being, you know, expressed in a way. You know, you could be a healer and you could be a nurse. Nurses are healers. Doctors are healers. You know, think about, like, confidence or self-love spells. Think about, like, a dental hygienist. When they go in and they fix someone's teeth and it makes them sparkle and makes them proud to smile. Is that not magic? Is that not an intuitive spiritual gift in motion? Of course it is. Of course it is, right? And so sometimes we just have to reframe these things in our mind. Can I see your... Yes, David, I can see your comments. I noticed that you left me the same poem yesterday that you left on Sand's video. And so I'm just saying, if you're going to post your written word, at least give me an original poem. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I'm mostly messing with you. Hi, Maloon. Hi. My little Nasira. Lee all over the place. I like this live stream. Thank you so much. You're welcome. What would you recommend for people who don't know squat about their ancestors? I'm adopted, which in its own is a bizarre thing. So if you have no way of getting any kind of, like, paperwork, and if you don't have the ability to get something like a DNA ancestry test, right? So that would be the obvious thing, is get an ancestry test. See where your people are from, right? Like, that's a really good place to start. I also recognize that those tests can be very expensive, right? So what I would do is I would sit down in meditation and I would open myself up and allow myself to be receptive, but put out a specific intention of, I would like to know, like, where I come from, because I know what that feels like. It's kind of like, I don't know where I come from. I would like to know where I come from, like, what cultures I am naturally drawn to. or that I may be a part of without knowing. And then allow yourself to just be receptive to like the signs and the synchronicities that come in. Even you could say, if I have any benevolent ancestors, you can even add something in like a disclaimer as well, as like benevolent ancestors who share a similar like moral or ethical code as I do, right? You can add that in as like a little thing for yourself as well, to come forward and communicate with me and show me kind of like the next step to take. They'll give you the breadcrumbs, right, and help you, because they want to be found. Your ancestors want to be found just as much as you want to find them, you know? So I would put that intention out and then look for the breadcrumbs, right? That would be kind of the first place that I would start. But again, if you do have the funds or the ability to, David, don't get fucking sassy with me. Don't get sassy with me. You will rue the day. No. But if you do have the ability to get one of those ancestry DNA tests, obviously that is helpful. It was a slow day. Your comments aren't being erased by spirit. I see all your comments in the chat. I see your comments on, I'm talking to the spirit so it's like, don't curse at me. I am not the one or the two. Try Jesus, don't try me. No, but all of your comments have been coming up under my videos, and I see all your comments in the chat. So, you're all good on my end, brother. I ask for my ancestors that love me and only want the best for me. Yeah, of course. And they do. Like, they do. They want to help. 20, 30 times I comment 20, 30 times a day different. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you're just, I don't know. Maybe YouTube thinks it's like spam or something, if you're commenting a lot. Hold on. I have to let Ginger out. Do you have any availability? I think I still have some appointments open this October, this month. And my November books are open, Brittany. So there'll be a link, I think, in the description box. If under the tag in my description that says donations and deck recommendations, it's my link tree. If you click it, the top button will take you to my website. Hold on, I just need to let the dog out. I have returned. How is everyone? We got the beep. We got the beep. We got the beep. Yeah, we got it. I just wanted to laugh at the beeps. I have made probably like 3 or 4 appointments to have someone come in here and fix the beeps. And every single time, the appointment has gotten canceled or something has happened. So, you know, it's not for a lack of trying. It's not for a lack of trying. Obviously, Spirit is testing all of our patience. So, you know, rock on. Rock on, Sister Suffragette. No, it's bots being taken over by spirits? No, do you? I don't know if I agree with that, David. I don't know. I block the bots. Hi, Ginger. Who's a good girl? Ginger is chaotic. She has always and will always be the original queen of chaos. It's just her way. And then the beep goes on. Did you do stuff? I actually didn't do sign readings. Technically, I didn't do any card readings today. I pulled 2 cards. I just felt the spirit overcome me. And I started talking about the necessity for health, grounded perspectives, integration, decolonization, deconstruction, anti-racism and misogyny work, and spirituality. And I was answering some questions. So I technically didn't do any readings, but I still feel like everyone got fed. So we're being playful. Yep, David, that's all, you just got to keep it on. That's all, that's all you can do. Comment sections are weird too. Like, if you post a link in the comment section, YouTube will block it. Very important chat today. You're welcome. Thanks for sitting with me while I went through, I don't even want to call it a rant because it's all like really important and valid stuff. I just didn't expect to be talking about it today. But it's like when I first came on, like I felt like sort of like this profound sense of loneliness from a lot of like people, and I didn't know what I was gonna talk about or what I was gonna read on. And now in retrospect, almost an hour and a half later, I'm thinking like maybe people are feeling really like lonely or feeling kind of empty in readings and spiritual journeys and all of that stuff is because we're not actually like feeding the collective. Do you know what I mean? We're not talking about like these things that are really important, and maybe that's why people feel lonely in the spiritual community is because they are not represented, and I'm just a single white woman, but if I can hold space for any of these conversations that give people a greater grasp on not just reality, but like the magnitude of how their beliefs can impact other people and themselves, and like I'm happy to do that. Chat, Spirit wants me to comment on lives instead of copying and pasting. Yeah, well, I mean, if someone's on live, then get her done, Get her done. Yeah. David, show us your true self. I mean, we're just people. I'm just a person. When I come on to do a stream, I think I'm going to go hang out with my friends, and that's kind of like the mindset that I go in it with. You don't always have to be a bloody poet. It is my true self. I can get more done by commenting in more places. What do you mean by get more done? That's my question, David. I have to go. If you're on for much longer and explore other topics, are you able to add timestamps so I can revisit this? I'm probably going to get off pretty soon, Brittany. I can try and put timestamps, but I felt like we were kind of weaving in and out, some sort of a weaver. But I am going to keep this live stream up. And if I have the ability to times, I feel like I'd be like 10 minutes, appropriation, 22 minutes, also appropriation, you know what I mean? But I'm going to leave this video up for later for anyone who needs it. And if anyone is able to make sense of the timeline that I was talking on, we will absolutely try and do timestamps. But I hope you have a wonderful day, and thank you so much for holding space with us, like while we talk about these things. You've been a pleasure. David, I choose the comments in certain places because I can move energy better, faster. Okay, well, do you, my guy. You gotta do whatever, like, okay. People, I forget, like, some people have, like, objectives in the comment section. Like, some people comment because they like the reading, like, they want to confirm the things that came through, or, like, whatever it is. But, there are people that I know, like, go into the comment section and they have, like, they're trying to do, like, an energy work. They're trying to do something, you know what I mean? Which, I get it. I will always remind everyone, though, that my space, my channel, all my stuff, it's warded to high fucking heaven. So if you're trying to come in my comment section and like do something that is like not in alignment with like me and my energy and my spiritual protections, it's just not gonna work. So sometimes it's better to just come forward and just like sharing the reading, like sharing the video with the rest of us. Like I want to know if you liked the reading, if it resonated, like what you took from it, like if it inspired a thought, if you disagreed with something, like, you know what I mean? The readings are not just readings, they're also conversation pieces, you know? The tarot, for me, it's a jumping off point for my own creative thought. And the readings that I do are also jumping off points for you in your own creative thought and like your lives, you know? Sort of like that Russian doll thing. You know, cooking, food, multitasking. Hi, Catherine. I move energy that is brought to me by spirits. One could call me a medium. Perhaps. I think of mediumship as it's a specific skill. It sounds like you're more of like an energy manipulator or like a transmutator or something like that. I don't know, I'm not obviously like working with you personally to really like delve in. Yeah, I gotta go too. It's been really fun. I love you guys. I hope that we learned something. I hope that I helped. I hope that some of it kind of stuck in a meaningful way. I love you guys so much. I appreciate you spending this time with me. I hope these conversations that at the very least were thought-provoking, and somehow I inadvertently answered a question that maybe you had lingering in your mind. I love you so much. I will see you very soon, and have a really good day.